Hey guys, it's Nick from the last post. If you're wondering where Pete is, he's in the hospital. I visited him and he said he got his leg stabbed and then broken by what he described as some incredibly fucked up shit. Now, before I tell you about it, I have to admit that I was wrong about what I accused him of before. All it took was seeing another one of those monstrosities the next night after he let me stay at his place. In that instance, I saw what was known as a big mouth, which was a spherical spider-legged creature with a large mouth, as its name implies, full of razor-sharp teeth. I was outside getting some fresh air on Pete's porch when I saw that thing come out of the woods. I would have gone back inside, but my dumb ass ended up locking myself out. Given that Pete's house was covered in runes, I thought I was safe, but webs are a thing, which it shot from its mouth and used to pull me towards it. I didn't have any time to react. I struggled as its web pulled me to its open mouth, but it was no use. I thought I was a goner when a car came whizzing by and struck the creature's legs, taking them off. Its body hit the ground face first. Not wasting any time, I pulled my shirt off, which was what the web was attached to, and threw it at the creature. It kept moving like a turtle on its back that was trying to flip itself over. I actually found it somewhat amusing until it started to roll towards me. I was going to make a run for it when the same car from before struck it again. This time, the person in question got out of the car. "Fucking dear, they think they own the place," he said to the now dead thing in the road in a heavily slurred voice. He gave it a swift kick in one of its eyes before getting back in his car. Then he drove off, hitting several wooden mailboxes going down the road. This town really needs to do something about its drunk driver problem, but seeing how one saved me, I guess I shouldn't complain about them too much. Pete arrived shortly after, and seeing the thing on the road and me without a shirt, he figured out quickly what happened. He unlocked the door for me, and we both went inside. Then he proceeded to show me ways to defend myself against the creatures. He had spare knives with runes on them, and he was kind enough to let me have a few. I asked him if he had another copy of his book, the one with the runes, but he only had the one, and I thought it was too important to ask him for it. I just settled on taking pictures of each individual page with my phone, which, as you can imagine, is tedious as hell. My car was fixed the next day, and still on a tight schedule to make it to my grandpa's funeral, I had to head out straight from the mechanic shop. I already had everything that I'd brought to Pete's house, so there was no need to go back there. Pete drove me to the mechanic shop and saw me off from there. We exchanged numbers, and I told him I'd contact him after I was done with the funeral. I don't feel comfortable going into much detail about the funeral, but I made it to 3 days later, and while it was hard to get through, I was glad to see my grandpa off one last time. I called Pete after the funeral from the motel I was staying at. I asked him if he was safe, and he replied that he was doing all right, but was annoyed by how busy work had been that week. We talked a little for a while about the funeral and the fact that Ms. Formaggio's mother had suffered a heart attack. He told me that they were staying at her mother's to give her emotional support and wouldn't be back until Thursday. Then he asked me if I wanted him to meet up with him in town Friday afternoon when he was off of work. As much as I like Pete, I didn't want to revisit the town surrounded by woods filled with dangerous creatures that can kill me. So we agreed he'd meet me outside of town where the creatures didn't show up. At least that was the original plan. I was driving up to our specified location on Friday when I heard one of my tires pop. "Motherfucker," I screamed while I saw that my front right tire had run over a pile of rusty nails, as well as a few glass bottles. Who the fuck did... Oh, fuck this shit. I yelled, then punched my passenger door out of sheer frustration. I wouldn't have minded so much if I had a spare tire to use, and if it didn't mean going back into town. Not seeing any other choice, I called a tow truck to come and get me. It arrived from town about 6:30, and after hooking my car up and me getting in, I asked him if he happened to know Pete. The pizza man? Hell yeah, I've been to a lot of pizza places, but let me tell you, Formaggio's has the good shit. But Pete's in the hospital. What? Why? Well, he had a run-in with one of those monsters today. Well, I'll be sure to pay him a visit then. When you do, tell him Mikey said, hey, I'd visit him, but work is a bitch. I drove my car from the shop an hour later, then headed to the hospital. By the time I got there, it was almost nighttime. Pete was especially happy to see me again. Hey, he told me. Hey, I said back, then relayed the message to him that Mike had given me. I'll have to give him some free pizza. I still owe him for that favor he did for me last month. Said favor being? My battery died when I was running errands last month, and I also forgot my wallet at home, but Mike gave me a free tow and left. Oh, that was nice of him. By the way, what in the hell happened to your leg? Pete's right leg was in a purple cast. Oh, that? I had to deliver to Carl, the dude who owns the gun store in town. Crazy Carl? Yeah, him. I usually don't have any problem when delivering to him, but in this case, I had to drive right up to his home since he was feeling sick and he couldn't run his shop. Honestly, he told us if we thought it was too dangerous to deliver to his place, that we didn't have to. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have volunteered to do it. Carl's house is located pretty deep in the woods outside of town, and to be honest, the delivery was going fine until I went up to his door with the pizzas and soda. I then rang the doorbell, and I felt something hit my back, then yank me. The next thing I knew, I was pinned by my leg upside down to a tree. What did it do to you? A tall motherfucker. I've actually never seen that kind of creature in person before, only in my book. It was the one with the two mouths for eyes. You mean the one where it had a second mouth in place of its eyes? Yeah, that one. And two long-ass tongues that it used to pull me back. It pinned my leg to the tree using one of its, what would you describe the claws as? A scythe. Yeah, let's go with that. It hurt like fuck, but I didn't want to scream in fear it would attract more creatures. Didn't you have any weapons with you? I did, and I tried pulling one out, but the bastard knocked it out of my hand before I could use it. I was pretty sure I was fucking dead when it raised its other claw. Then I heard a small chink sound and saw it start to slump forward, which was not good for me because, man, did its breath smell. Hey, you got a good sense of humor for someone who was almost killed. What can I say? Laughter's the best medicine. So as I was saying, I saw that an arrow that I figured had some runes carved into the head had been shot into the back of that tall fucker's skull. It turned to look at who shot it. When it did, I saw the top of its head get blown off. It fell to the ground, during which its claw slipped from my leg and I fell as well. I ended up landing on my injured leg, which broke it, as you can see. Carl rushed over to me, then brought me inside, and after bandaging my leg as best as he could and getting his pizzas and soda off the ground, he drove me to the hospital. He wanted to keep the pizzas that was on the ground? Yeah, but he said since they were still in the boxes, they were still good. Anyway, he drove me up to the hospital. We arrived there at 3, and I've been here since. Well, I'm happy that you survived, Pete. Shame, God damn it. I have a ton of games and shows I've been meaning to try, and I will not die before I get a chance to. But can you do me a favor, Nick? I've actually been making posts on Reddit about my experiences. I was supposed to do it today, but, well, you know. So you want me to do it? If it's not too much trouble, well, no problem. Oh, thanks, and feel free to let them know how things have been going with you. I just might. Well, that brings us to now. It's after 3:30 in the morning as I post this from my phone. Pete has fallen asleep, and I'm about to head down to grab some food from the snack machines. Pete will probably be well enough to post to you guys again next week. I'm going to be honest, I don't currently have a job or anything, and this town is starting to grow on me, despite its obvious hazards. Maybe it's just because of Pete, but I'm starting to like this place. Who knows? I might just stay for a little while after he's discharged from the hospital. Well, this is Nick, signing out.